Calgary Flames have an opportunity to really reshape their roster. They have the top three players on our trade bait list. Jake Markstrom on the top, Chris Tanev, Noah Hanifin, Blue Liners follow. Calgary, 5 points back of the Blues for the final wildcard spot. St. Louis has a game in hand. The Flames looking to avoid missing the postseason for the third time in 4 seasons. With that, we bring in our Calgary Flames Bureau Chief, Mr. Salim Valji. Great to see you, my friend, and reports out of Calgary Saturday suggesting that Noah Hanifin's time with the team is coming to an end. What can you tell us about that situation?
I think, Jay, I can tell you that it is radio silent on all fronts. His agent, Pat Brisson, didn't respond to a request for comment. And I think, Jay, that we likely have seen the last media availabilities for both Noah Hanifin and Chris Tanev, because the organization is clearly putting them on the trading block. And how it was explained to me, Jay, is that there's a fear that any player that has their name out there, they could say something in the media that other teams will use as leverage against their team in trade talks. And I think, ideally we get to talk with these players being media and just asking them maybe more the human side, how they're managing what seems to be a really stressful period for them. But the reality is that they don't want to risk a player inadvertently saying something that could actually have an impact in trade conversation. And I think that risk management is exactly what the Calgary Flames are doing right now. So it's radio silent on all fronts. We did hear from Jacob Markstrom on Saturday night after he got pulled. But in terms of Noah Hanifin, I really don't think we're going to see much from him publicly, as the organization really is in protection mode, not just with him, but with others. And it really is a shame, because I think fans do want to understand the perspective of players, but there's a much bigger game at play. And as a result, we really don't know how Noah Hanifin, Chris Tanev, and others are dealing with this constant trade chatter that seems to perpetually be coming out of the Saddle Dome.
Salim, it's funny you bring up the fact that Jake Markstrom had something to say. We're talking about the Flames losing 5-0 to the Red Wings on Saturday. Markstrom getting pulled after allowing 4 goals on 12 shots. Let's listen to Markstrom's reaction when he was asked about the rumors of him and Calgary potentially parting ways.
Jacob, we hear so much about blocking out the noise. Is that becoming more difficult for this group?
I don't think so. What noise are you talking about?
The trade speculation, the deadline coming up, all that.
Everyone here is professional, paid to play hockey, and that's what all you can do, and we got to keep doing it. We've been doing it all year, and it's been, you guys been talking about it all year, and we just got to play.
How do you personally try and block that out then? Because your name has been out there. How do you?
Well, right now I'm not thinking about it. I just got pulled early in the second period, so it's bad timing for that question.
All right, well, bad time for that question, but you have to ask these questions, Salim. That's your job, right? His job's getting paid to play hockey. Your job's to ask those questions. What was your takeaway from that interaction that you had with Jake Markstrom on Saturday?
Jay, I think I'm slowly starting to recover from the death stare. It's been almost 24 full hours, but I survived. Initially, I feel for them, right? Because we are all human beings. And I was actually rereading a story, Jay, I did a couple of years ago about Eric Goodbranson, who's been in more than a couple trade transactions over the past few years. And he was great to deal with here in Calgary. And I remember him telling me that because his young son didn't have a passport, his newborn son, he didn't actually see his newborn son, Benny, for over a month after he got dealt one particular deadline. So initially, when I heard that clip of Jacob Markstrom, I know he has a young son, so my initial thought was about him and his family. But you're right, Jay. We do have to ask these questions. It's not always pretty. And the reality is that we don't get to talk to goaltenders a ton in this business, because far more often than not, they don't speak on game days when they're supposed to start. So on morning skates, while we get to talk to other players, goalies tend not to talk to media. And given what we already know about the Flames and how they're approaching this publicly with Chris Tanev and Noah Hanifin, I think they're in a similar boat, Jay, with Jacob Markstrom in terms of protecting the asset and really protecting them from the public eye, if you will. So the truth is, we probably weren't going to get Markstrom again anytime soon. And we only got him yesterday because he was pulled after a really rough outing in the midst of a pretty phenomenal bounce-back season. So I felt for him as a human being, because I know he's got a young family, but you do have to ask the question, especially with goalies, Jay. We don't get those opportunities for one-on-one time particularly often, or even in scrums. So you just, even if it's after an unfortunate outing, you do have to ask the question because it's on everyone's mind what this organization is going to do, because it does have a trickle down effect across the National Hockey League. And I don't blame Jacob Markstrom at all for not appreciating the question, but we still have to ask it, right? So
let's talk about the fan base. This fan base has been through a bit of a roller coaster these past few seasons, and now everybody's speculation about 3 of their best players maybe heading out the door. How's the fan base handling this situation, Salim, as we get close to the deadline?
Jay, the best way I can put it is speculation fatigue. It is what everyone talks about. The times I'm out in public, people come up to you and ask you what you think. Like, it really is all about these 3 players, and I think everyone's kind of tired of it, right? Because the organization has been through so much over the past few seasons with players leaving and coming oh so close to getting an American in Noah Hanifin to sign long-term, and that doesn't seem to have worked out, and now he's on the market. I think everyone here's tired. They really are tired of having to seemingly update their jersey cupboard every season because of the number of names that are in and out, and not just players that are on expiring contracts, Jay, but the likes of Jacob Markstrom, who has multiple years after this one. I think the organization and its fans are desperate for some sort of sustained success. The reality is that they're not going to get that likely, because the deals that Conroy will make for Chris Tanev and Noah Hanifin likely are going to be geared towards the future. I do know they have that new arena on the horizon, and they want to open that up in a couple of seasons with a super competitive team. But I think speculation fatigue, because it really isn't about what's going on the ice right now, Jay. It really is about the future of some key players, and fans, they get attached to these guys. They want to buy their jerseys, and they simply, I think, just want this distraction to go away. And the trade deadline, it cannot come soon enough for Jacob Markstrom, for me, for a lot of people, because then the focus will be on the more human stories and what goes on the ice.
Well, 18 days to the deadline and 3 Flames at the top of the trade bait board. This is definitely not the last time we'll be speaking to Salim Valji between now and March the 8th. So looking forward to chat with you a little bit more over the next little while, buddy, but thanks for joining us on the show today. Thanks, buddy. Still ahead. I told you Frankie Corrado was waiting for us on the other side of the set. I'm going to walk over there and join him next. We'll chat about Markstrom versus UC Saros, who the top goalie Frankie thinks is up.